The 5K distance is one of the best distances you can race in running, but it can also be incredibly difficult. Now, I've been lucky enough to drop my 5K time from 27 minutes to 15 minutes. Now, that has taken me 10 years to do that, but I've learned a number of things over those 10 years. More specifically, I've learned what sessions count and what sessions don't count. So in this video, I'm going to give you my 4 best speed sessions to improve your 5K times. Now, these 4 sessions are all incredibly different to each other. I'm going to share with you variations of each session, so it doesn't matter what your goal is, whether you're looking to break the 45-minute barrier, whether you're looking to complete a 5K, or whether you're trying to break 20 minutes or even break 50 minutes or even a world record. Now, before we get into each session, it's really important before you put your shoes on, you activate and you stretch. Once your running shoes are on, you do a light warm-up and you make sure that you're prepared for a speed session ahead. We really don't want to be tucking straight into these speed sessions without a thorough warm-up. Always make sure you get your warm-up and you're ready to go. So the very first session is an over-under session. So it's 2 minutes of over race pace with 4 minutes under race pace, put together into a 6-minute block of work, and that 6-minute block of work is repeated either 4 times for beginners, 6 times for intermediates, or if you're comfortable, 10 reps and 10 lots of 6 minutes. Now, that does sound like quite a big session, but you can break it down and you can chunk it to even smaller amounts. If you want to start with 2 or 3, that's totally fine. You'll start by doing 2 minutes above your race pace. What I mean by that is, let's say you're looking to run a 20-minute 5K. That works out to be a 4 minute per kilometer split. So in the first 2 minutes of our 6-minute block, we're looking to run slightly faster than that 4 minute per K pace. So let's say we go for a 350 per kilometer. You're going to run the first 2 minutes in a 350 per kilometer. You're then going to go straight into 4 minutes of under that race pace. So the race pace being 4 minutes per kilometer, we're then going to run 4 minutes at under. So let's say we go for 4 minutes 30 to 4 minutes 50, somewhere in that range. What we're doing here is we're essentially aiming to accumulate fatigue and lactate during the over reps, and then during the 4 minute under reps, we're looking to efficiently clear the lactate and fatigue. You want to make sure you complete the full session. You don't want to be fatiguing too early, or if you're finding the rest is not long enough, add a little bit longer to your rest. There's no harm in doing that at all. What we do want to avoid, however, is taking too long on the rest. We want to make sure our heart rate drops enough, but not too much. Now, the key to this session is making sure that in our under reps, we aren't working too easily. We want to be making sure that we are still working, I'd say, steadily. We don't want to be working in the recovery mode, but we don't want to be working too hard. Make sure your breathing's controlled, but you probably just about can have a conversation, no less than that, because then we're recovering too much. We want to make sure the balance is right. Everyone is chasing different dreams within running, so it's no point starting straight out with 10 sets. Start at a sensible number that you think you will be able to complete, and slowly work on adding sets to each session you do. There's no point starting with 10 straight away, because it's not achieving anything and you're going to end up loathing the session and you're not going to enjoy it. The best thing to do is to start on a slightly lower number than what you think you can do and slowly add to it the next time you come to it. Now, the second session I'm going to give you is one that I fear above any other session I do, and it is based around hill repeats, but it's slightly different to the standard ones you'll see. A lot of people prescribe 20-second, 30-second hill sprints up a short or sharp incline. My sessions are slightly different, and they're certainly ones that I really fear, but I know carry a lot of currency. They make the difference in my opinion. Now, these sessions are 90-second hill repeats up slow, gradual inclines. The short, sharp hill sprints, you know you can put the effort in for a short amount of period and it's over. The 90-second gradual climbs are really difficult mentally and physically. The key to these is doing these at a sensible pace, one that you're not going to burn all the matches within the first 30 seconds, but one that's going to test you right to the very end of the 90-second rep. For this session, I tend to choose a long gradual slope as opposed to a steeper hill, and I try to opt for a rough pace of around a 3-kilometer pace, which for me is currently at around 2:55. So I'll look to hold that pace, maybe slightly slower because it is on an incline. Now, I would suggest going off effort here because we're working on hills. I wouldn't worry about looking at the watch too much. It's a pace that you feel you could hold for roughly 3 kilometers. Now, this can be translated, I would suggest, to something like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. Now, it is 90 seconds, so it is substantially longer than when you're doing your other hill sprints. So be mindful of that, and over the first rep or maybe the second rep, I would take it easier. Now, like the over-under session, I do opt for 10 reps of these, but I would suggest starting with 3 or 4 again and seeing how you feel. Personally, it always makes me feel a little bit nauseous towards the end of the session, but I know there's so much value in doing these. If you've seen any of my videos previously, you'll know how much I adore the hills. So good for your form, so good for your muscles in terms of strength work, and so good for that aerobic capacity. There are so many well-documented benefits on it. I won't go into too much details. Do your hills, do your hill sprints. These are massive for the 5K distance. You'll be working at above a 5K race effort, but again, it's all massively contributing towards improving your 5K time. Now, the third workout I'm going to give you is all about working at that 5K goal pace. It's not about going faster or slower, it's about getting comfortable running at that pace. It's really important that come race day, we know and understand how that pace feels, so we don't set off too fast and it's not a shock to us when we start at our goal pace. So this session is a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 pyramid, and in between each rep, so in between the 5 to 4 and the 4 to 3, etc., you'll get 60 seconds of rest or recovery. Each of these reps you want to be looking to be running at your 5K race pace, and it's really important that you don't run faster or you don't run slower than this. If you can really try and master that pace, come race day, your body will be used to the race pace feeling and you won't set off too fast, or your body won't be shocked at what your race pace is. Now, to make this session a little bit more trickier, what you can do beforehand, and I quite like to do this, is add some tempo work or some work in before the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you arrive at the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 a little bit more fatigued than what you would do if you didn't do the work beforehand. Similarly, if you'd like to make this session slightly easier, you can either increase the recovery times in between, or you can take out one of the middle reps. So you can go 5, 4, 2, 1, or you can go 5, 3, 2, 1. It's totally up to you. It's totally discretionary in terms of the changes you make. Have a little play around with it, but it's a really, really good session, one that I do quite regularly. So unlike the other sessions, this session really does focus on your specific 5K pace. It's not about running faster, it's about getting comfortable with your race pace, which is something that is so important if you're looking to run a 5K BB. Having that understanding in your mind of how it feels, but also what it translates to in terms of the actual pace on your watch, is something that's really important. So it might be worthwhile that when you're doing this session is jot down the timings and the pacings on your watch and how fast you're going. Remember how that feels, and maybe revisit this session later on in the training block and see how those paces that you've just ran feel later in the training block. Hopefully they feel a little bit easier. Now, the fourth session that I do is an absolute classic, and it is a 400 meter session. It's a 16 by 400 meter rep session, all of which are run at your 5K race pace. For this session, ideally you would have access to a track, but you could still do this on the road. It's no problem whatsoever if you do not have access to a track. Just make sure you're in a safe environment. For this session, you're looking to do the 400 meter reps off the back of 45 seconds of rest, and it's one continuous effort from the start to the end. Now, this session can be quite long, so if this is your first time attempting this session, I would strongly advise starting with 6 to 8 reps to start with. And if that's quite difficult to do, maybe increase the rest from 45 seconds up to 60 seconds. It's really important that each of the reps are run at your 5K pace and no faster. The ultimate goal here is to be able to run 10 to 14 reps at your 5k pace. If we're running at 3k pace, the chances are we're not going to be able to complete that number of reps, and it's completely disregarding the purpose of the session. We want to be able to do a good volume of training at your 5k pace here. We don't want to be dipping too fast, and equally we want to be making sure we are running at race pace and not too slow. So there we go then, guys. Those are my 4 key workouts that I'm doing at the moment and I've learned over the years have helped me to drop my 5k time. I continue to do those sessions now, and it doesn't matter how many times I do them, they're still as hard as they've ever been. The outcome and the effect they have remains the same. It's just a matter of increasing your pace overall or reducing the rest, and keeping it fresh. Flicking between each session will help you to hopefully drop your 5k time overall. Now, interval sessions and speed workouts are a really important factor to improving your 5k time, but of course there are many other things that go into improving your 5k time. I do have a link to another video that I have made on how you improve your 5k time, some hints and some tips. Things like aerobic running, VO2 max and zone 2 running, and also things like strength training, nutrition and some race day advice. All these things can help you to reduce your 5k time and hopefully get yourself a nice PB. Thank you for watching today's video. If you do have anything that you wish to ask me, I'm not a professional runner, nor am I a professional coach, but I do have some experience in the running world. Please do leave a comment down below, or if you've got sessions of your own that you think would be helpful to the other viewers, then please either leave them in the comments or you can message me on Instagram. If you've also got anything you would like to know from me in terms of a future video or any suggestions, please also leave those in the comments. Thank you for all the support recently on the channel. The views have been really good, so have the subscriptions, the likes and the comments. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.
Right on time for the parties and Barbies. Strolling with a chunk of green like a golf swing.